Didn't even have the mic. What's up, y'all? Good morning. Welcome back to another episode of BizBuzz Live. I'm your host, Chris Muzan. Hey, it's Friday, April 18th. We're about to get into some conversations today, like every Friday, around your cash flow. But today we're talking about something that I don't know that we've talked about before on the show, but how important mom and dad are in this next generation's life. Let's stick around. That's right, y'all. We are back. Welcome to another episode of BizBuzz Live. I'm your host, Chris Muzan, your financial coach, taking you through all things money. Shout out to everybody live here on LinkedIn and YouTube. We come to you every single Friday just to be able to talk about some of the important things around our cash flow. Again, the thesis of these and the reason why we started the show and what we're excited to be able to talk about are some of the things that don't get talked about as much in the financial space. Inevitably, when people come and have a conversation with me and we're talking about their investments, their retirement, their savings, their debt, their insurance protection, budgeting, whatever they come to talk to me about financially, inevitably, eventually the conversation gets back to, well, how do you make money? How do you bring in money? And because you guys know, if you've been following for any period of time, I've always said you have to first learn how to earn the money. Then you have to learn how to save it. Then you have to learn how to invest it. But it's oftentimes many people aren't even learning how to earn it. Maybe you have a job. Maybe that job is paying your bills. Maybe it's not. I'm on TikTok a bunch and all these other platforms a bunch. And just to hear the amount of people that are struggling, that are going through something similar when it comes down to their jobs not being enough. They work all the time. They work 40, 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week, and they still don't cover the bills. Like their paycheck still doesn't cover the bills. They're not incentivized to do more work. And so a lot of people are struggling just in how they're earning money. Not to mention the gig economy. People are driving DoorDash and Uber Eats and doing all types of other things when it comes to being able to make a little bit of extra money, make a little $300 here. I find out how to drive for this company. I find out how to do some online thing on this company. I got some affiliate marketing site on this side. I do this little thing over here, and all of it adding up with the 6 things that you have in your arsenal, all those things adding up still don't create the lifestyle you want from an income standpoint. And then you got full-on business owners that are building something big and they have the challenges of life, the tariffs that come in. Maybe you have a clothing company. Maybe you've been shipping all your stuff in right, from other countries. And now all of a sudden you don't even know how to make it happen, right? The money's not flowing in the way that you want it to. So who's having these conversations with us? I know when we're talking finance, a lot of times we start talking about the other side. We start talking about, hey, are you budgeting? Are you writing your money down? Are you saving money every month? Are you how you paying off your debt? Are you doing a debt snowball, debt avalanche? Are you doing your highest, interest rate cards first? Are you fully funding your retirement? Do you put money in your 401k IRA every month? How much? Right? Are you doing all these things? Yeah, those are the typical conversations around money, around finance. But who's helping you earn it? Who taught you how to earn the money? Who's teaching you and helping you down the path of earning money? That's a part of financial literacy too. That's a part of financial education too, is your ability to earn income. And so that's why we started this show, so that we can have these conversations around earning income, around how to bring it in. And so there's lots of different ways. Many people have, like I said, you went to school, you got good grades, you got a degree, you got some higher education, you got an MBA, you got a PhD, you're in a bunch of student loan debt. And so you work as a slave. I'm joking. Not really. But like you are in debt a ton. And so you have to work at jobs in order to that are underpaying you in order to try to pay back all this debt in order right so that you took out in order to go to school and get these degrees that technically aren't paying you what you're worth anyway. And so maybe that's your life. So maybe you needed to break that cycle and figure out a way to make additional income or to change your career path or to get into an industry that has the horsepower to get you to where you want to go. I don't know what it is, but there's a lot of these conversations to be had. The conversation I wanted to have with you today is a little bit more nuanced because we came across this article. And I think it's going to resonate for some people, but I want to be able to share it with you. It was a Wall Street Journal article that says the younger generation goes to work for Mom and Dad Inc. The younger generation is going to work for Mom and Dad Inc. So think about this. We've always kind of been taught to like go off and build a life and do all these things, college and jobs and all the things. But what if your parents had a business? And the job market right now is crazy. Just look here on LinkedIn, ask anybody in HR, any recruiters, anybody that's building. The job market's crazy right now. Meaning not a lot of people hiring. Obviously, we spent all of like the month of March talking about the layoffs. We finally got off that topic this month. But all last month, all we could talk about was the amount of people getting laid off, private and public sector. And now we're in a job market. People are looking for jobs, looking for income. And it's never really been a big thing in our culture, I guess, to work for mom and dad. It's never been that big of a deal. Now, what's funny is I've said this plenty of times on plenty of other podcasts or other things that we've done out there, that one day we're going to get back to the pre-Great Depression times, right? Before the Industrial Revolution, before railroads and, big factories and all this stuff where people moved more into the job life and, getting paid for their labor. Before that time, and I've always said we're going to revert back, right? Everything is cyclical. Everything goes around. Bell bottoms come back out. You know what I mean? Old games come back out. Old movies come resurface back around. But the life that people were living before the Great Depression, before the Industrial Revolution, before all that stuff, was everyone kind of worked with their family and bartered off of whatever they were good at. So if your mom was a quilt maker and you're her daughter, you were going to become a quilt maker. That's the family business. And then you guys are going to trade your quilts for milk from the dairy farm down the road. If your dad was the dairy farmer, if your family was the dairy farm, guess what? You grew up on a dairy farm and you knew how to milk cows and you knew how to feed them and do all the stuff. Like that was your job at a very young age. You knew you were going to work for the family business, the family thing that people did. If your dad was the cobblestone maker, if your dad was the shoemaker and you were his son, likely you would be a cobblestone maker or some form of right shoemaker. That's the way it went. If Jesus's dad was a carpenter, you become a carpenter. That's the way it goes. That was the way we lived life, ladies and gentlemen. And then all of a sudden, we started doing things outside of the family. Great Depression, Industrial Revolution, all these things started happening. Family businesses started breaking down. They needed to make wages. They needed to be able to make money, all those types of things. All that stuff started happening. And now in 2025, we're so far removed from that style of living that most kids don't want to do anything that their parents do. There's a very select, small group of people that are blessed to be like, my child wants to do what I do in life. It's very, very select few people. But if now we're in this stage in 2025, y'all, if we're in this area, this period of our lives in 2025 where the job markets are crazy. Parents are already supplementing their children's everything. There was an article that came out. We should have pulled it up. There's an article that came out that said something along the lines of like the average parent is like subsidizing like $1,500 a month for their adult children. Like meaning like parents are still paying for their adult children to live life, $1,500, around the tune of average $1,500 a month. That could go for rent, that could go for their cell phone, that could go for their trip, that could go for their living, that could go for anything. Their food, their vacation, whatever. $1,500 a month coming from the parents. So we're in a generation that and there's more statistics about how many people are still living at home with their parents, adult kids living at home with their parents. So parents are subsidizing a lot of life for the next generation, for the millennial, Gen Z generation. A lot of parents subsidizing that life. So now we're just in that next phase. Okay, we already saw these articles over the past 5 to 7 years, I guess kind of past 5 years since the pandemic, when things really kind of shifted a bunch. And then parents started welcoming their children back home, and the cost of living got really high. The expenses got really high. And so it was just a smart financial move to move back in with your parents. We saw that happen. Now, what if your parents have a business and you don't have a job, or you don't like your job, or your job doesn't pay you well, or there's no way to advance in your career, or you're not making a difference, or whatever the reasons are, you don't like your job, but your dad has a business, your mom has a business. Well, that's what this article is talking about. This article is saying that with a cooling white collar job market, some people, some especially recent grads, are moving towards the family business. It says the idea of working with my dad is becoming way more appealing than what you have out there in the world. Again, lots of things that are happening are going to help you understand how to make money in this society. How you thought about making money in the past may not be the way that you're making money now. It says a younger generation is taking a bigger interest in joining the family business, spurred by a cooling labor market that is making it more difficult to land entry-level jobs. Right? And then again, this is good timing because it says at the same time, their parents and grandparents, baby boomers and Gen Xers, who own the vast majority of American businesses, are feeling more urgency about making succession plans and looking towards their retirement. It's like, it's the perfect storm, as they would say. Gen X and baby boomers, they're trying to get out. They're like, man, I've been doing this thing for 25 years. For 30 years, we've had this business. And I'm trying to get out. I'm trying to sell this thing. I'm trying to figure out who's next. I'm looking towards retirement. I don't want to keep doing this. And now we have this other generation of millennials, Gen Zers that are coming out that are like, man, the job market's terrible. Why am I going to go work for them when dad's trying to get out of this business? When mom and dad are trying to like figure out a way to get themselves out. Well, what if I step in? Perfect storm. It says here the share of small businesses that employ a young adult child of an owner has doubled since 2018. So parents own a business, then they choose to employ their young adult child. It's doubled since 2018. It says it's up 13% year over year as of January. As of January, it's up 13% year over year. So again, these are things, ladies and gentlemen, that we have to pay attention to when it comes to our job market, when it comes to understanding how to make money, when it comes down to figuring out how are you going to earn it in this society, in what we're doing right now. How are you going to earn money? Do your parents have a business? I know it might not be overly successful. It might not be the industry you have passion for, none of those things. but your parents have a business. If you take your skill sets, your talents, your thoughts, your knowledge of social media, your knowledge of technology, your contacts, your relationships, your resources, and you bring it into that business, you've created an income for yourself. You've created a future, a future legacy building income for yourself. Whether you choose to take it over for 3 years, whether you choose to take it over for 5 years, whether you choose to take it over for your entire lifetime and keep it generational, if you can make that business better, this could set you up financially for your next move. Let's say your parents have you know, a sign business, a sign printing business or something, but they've been running that thing for 20 years. Well, if you step in and you learn sales and you learn marketing and you understand money and you understand profit and loss and you understand those things, and you can put some systems in place and hire some right people and step in and do some of the work, maybe even put some capital in for yourself, put some money in, get a loan, like do some things, you could grow that business. So you don't have to worry about getting paid what you're worth at a job. You don't have to worry about the bad job market. You don't have to worry about any of those things. Your parents have a business. You know where this is going to go also? Like your friends, your friends' parents. That's just natural. In the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, one of the best books out, like when it comes to like the mindset of entrepreneurs and kind of thinking about money and all this stuff, the premise of the book is he had his dad and then his friend Mike's dad. His dad was the head of education, and then his friend Mike's dad owned a business. So he got a chance to see both dads, the rich dad and the poor dad. And because he had a friend and he was close to that friend, and that friend's parent had a business, he could go in and get lessons from him. He could hang out at the place that the warehouse or the office that the guy had built, so he could learn the lessons. Well, what if we're coming to that in 2025? What if that's where we are now? What if we're now at the place where you need to stop looking outside to these major companies, to the government, to all the people that are laying off people and that have been laying off people for a while? What if that's not what we need to be paying attention to? What if you need to tap into your resources? You need to tap into the people that are around you to be like, hey, doesn't your uncle own a business? Hey, don't your parents own a business? What do they do? Hey, doesn't your brother own a business? What does he do? Because I can bring some skills to that business, because that's something that, again, I believe I can do. I froze.